Welcome back to our special focus with hours ahead of the inauguration of the fifth president, that is President-elect William Ruto. And in the last few hours, a lot has happened, which is unexpected, but a lot of messaging loaded in the last State of the Nation address, if you could call it that, from the incumbent president, Uhuru Kenyatta. And that's why we have tonight special guests, Irene Asua, a social scientist, and Philip Kisia, not a stranger on our screens. He is the former Nairobi town clerk. And I think allow me to give you this title. It might win you something good, governance analyst. He's very keen on leadership aspects of our country. Asanteni sana kwa kungoja and for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Great to see you both. Now, we witnessed something today that was not necessarily expected, but it happened all the same. That was the President-elect William Ruto and his wife turning up or being invited to State House and finally meeting President Uhuru Kenyatta and the First Lady. What are your reactions to that? It was the moment that almost everyone has been waiting for. And I say it wasn't really expected, given the frosty relations between William Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta. Wanakesi, I'll begin with you. Your reactions to that meeting today?
Yeah, first of all, let me once again congratulate His Excellency William Ruto for having won the elections and ascending to power tomorrow after 2 p.m. Well, this one was not expected, at least so far as I'm concerned, because it's a moment we've been waiting for. I've known Uhuru Kenyatta for many years. I've known him to be a gentleman. And it's, you know, I mean, you need to, if you're known to be somebody who is cultured, somebody who is civilized, I think there was a delay in this message at this moment. But it has happened. We're happy that he had courage to invite his successor into State House and to have some moments together before he hands over power tomorrow. Right. I think this is what we see in civilized jurisdictions. We've seen it in America. We've just seen it in Britain, where the transition is seamless. So let us behave in a civilized, cultured manner in all that we do. So I'm hoping again that as we transition tomorrow from the 4th to the 5th president, that it will be seamless, that will not heckle anybody in the presence of international guests. Because the bad name doesn't end with the person leaving the office. It ends with the Kenyan people. We are known to be civilized. Please, let's behave in a civil manner. Let's behave with decorum. This is a great moment for this republic. And please, Kenyans, let us put our best foot forward.
Right, and Irene, you know, a civilized behavior is what we saw. We saw the two shaking hands, we saw smiles, and we saw, you know, welcome, come in. Again, probably not expected at all. What do you make of what happened today?
I don't think it's a surprise. I mean, Kenya claims to be a democracy. It also claims to have one of the most progressive constitutions, and a transition was bound to happen anyway. He's president-elect announced by the commission, and the court upheld the win. So I don't see any other way apart from the transition happening so that Kenyans move forward, because there's also been anxiety around the whole thing. They've been campaigning for the longest time. I think for the first time Kenya has people have campaigned for a very long time. Right. And it's time we start seeing what the incoming regime has for Kenyans, because we're not at a good place economically.
And we would have been having a different discussion hadn't this meeting happened hours to the inauguration, with uncertainty of whether the incumbent will show up for the transition to the new president-elect. But as we now get into the conversation of legacy, would you see it from the lenses of legacy and a social scientist that this was strategic in terms of diffusing anything that was out there for President Uhuru Kenyatta to leave, I wouldn't say a taintless kind of legacy, but less tainted?
I think the legacy is more tainted. Well, it's good on paper, the Big Four agenda.
Right.
A little bit brilliant because what it touches on is basically dignity of Kenyans. When you talk about healthcare, food security, manufacturing, housing, and all those things. So we've had them very nicely on paper. But on the implementation bit, no, I don't think so. So I don't think the transition was more of a legacy. It was more of, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
So let's just do it.
Okay. Would you think he was saving face in your perspective, because in the last few days there hasn't been the kindness of words that have been shared in the political scene, and that would have been, perhaps the memory of many of a sore loser leaving office?
No, see, it's not about the person.
Yeah.
It's about a nation. This nation called Kenya belongs to 52 million people. So you cannot keep them in abeyance for all that time. I think you've seen how Britain has transited. It is it's seamless. It is well documented. I think going into the future, there is need to document transition. I know certain aspects have been documented,
yeah,
but we need to improve so that we know at what point is the outgoing president expected to behave in a certain way, so that we don't leave it to an individual. This time round, I think my good friend, the son of the late Jomo, I think left it too late. There's nothing strategic, in my view,
right,
with what he did. He should have been a gentleman, and I've known him to be a gentleman. He should have just, been magnanimous and said, okay, fine, listen, you are not my preferred choice. You saw what Obama did.
Yes.
Okay? Exactly. It's playing back. Trump wasn't the preferred candidate for President Obama. But when the moment came, he took the pride and he said, listen, America is greater than all of us. And therefore, I will ensure that the transition is seamless. And I welcome President Trump to the White House for discussion and a cup of coffee. That is how gentlemen behave. That is how civilized people behave. I think, it's never too late.
Yes.
It has happened. And we must thank President Uhuru Kenyatta for being a gentleman. And you know, when you're president, or when you're holding office.
Let me interject, if I may. Would you be calling President Uhuru Kenyatta gentleman a few months ago when we heard the way in which he spoke about his deputy?
You see, you must differentiate between politicking and real issues. And I can tell you what happens behind the... when you're politicking, you will be shocked. We're all Kenyans.
Yeah.
You've seen even people in Kenya Kwanza. The people seated now on the round table. They have called each other names in the public gallery.
Yes.
But behind the scenes,
they're drinking tea.
They're drinking tea and having good drinks, right? So I wouldn't be shocked if that is what happened between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the incoming president, that in the gallery they played as if they were the worst of enemies. But behind the scenes, there were a lot of good things happening.
Yes. So
what I'm saying is that we don't need to get into that gallery. We just need to be sure, as a republic, as a state, that these are the steps we go through when you're transiting from one administration to a new administration. So this thing of keeping us in abeyance, pinky-ponky and stuff like that, I think should stop. Yeah, this is a weighty matter. Yeah, this is not a pre-wedding.
Yes.
You are moving from one administration, which has been there for 2 terms, 10 years, to a new administration. I think you need to make it easier for Kenyans to understand what is going on. Right. Because Kenyans were uncertain. Actually, Kenya, we can speak openly because of the democracy that we fought for. But I can tell you, there are people who are worried. They're wondering whether the son of Jomo will hand over the sword. It's a reality.
Yes.
It may not be true, but those are the feelings some people had.
Right.
That, is this man really willing to hand over the sword?
And perhaps that was the, again, you see no strategy, but perhaps that was the messaging to be sent out to ease the nerves of those who are worried. But again, back to the legacy, you've spoken a bit about it, how good it is on paper. And he was reading a paper in his last State of the Nation address in a way to give a scorecard of his administration. And of course, he spoke well of his leadership. He spoke about digital transformation of government services, doubling tax revenue collection, and even talking about the confidence of moving the country into a middle income economy. In your view, in this scorecard, in a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give it?
That's a hard range. 1 for the infrastructure, from where Kibaki's regime left it. The road network has improved.
Right.
Human dignity, no. Yeah, we might have moved from low income to middle, but that's very elusive because where's the Human Development Index? How does the Kenyan feel? You've talked about tax, and KRA for the first time say they surpassed the tax target. But to what end and at whose expense? So you surpassed the tax target. So what's the value for the taxpayer then? Because we saw those VAT on very essential commodities for Kenyan. And we saw petitions to lower food prices and to lower gas prices and gas and all those things. So on one side, you're saying we're a middle income economy, but on the other side, there's nothing to show for basic human dignity, which Article 43 of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights provides for.
Yes.
So on that part, the legacy is tinted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned how do Kenyans feel. Let's bring in some views from a few Kenyans that NTV spoke to about this issue. Listen in.
Uchumi ya Kenya ilikuwa nzuri, lakini once Uhuru aliingia, bei ya vitu ilienda juu.
Uhuru walifanya miaka mitano ingine baada ya handshake mambo iliharibika. Uhuru alienda tu, alitembea, akafanya mkutano ya kucheka, akatuacha Kenya hii.
Uhuru Kenyatta tulianza naye vizuri sana mwaka wa 2013. Na alikuwa mtu tunayependa, maana tulimpigia kura kwa upendo. Lakini alipofika mahali akakaa kama anapika kona, maana akaingiliwa na wale watu ambaye walikuwa opposition, ambaye watu walikuwa wanamuombea mabaya, sasa akawafanya marafiki. Na hapo ndio umeona unga imepanda.
The outgoing president of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, alitutesa sana. Lakini kitu kimoja naikumbuka, alitusaidia wakati corona ilikuwa imeingia Kenya, ikarudisha gharama ya maisha. Lakini tena pesa ya KEMSA iliporwa sana.
President ambaye anaondoka, tunasema kwamba alifanya kazi, ijapokuwa tu ile kitu alifanya makosa kubwa kabisa ni kuacha naibu wake na kwenda kushikana na opposition ambaye baadaye hakukuwa na mpango.
Basi kwa anayeondoka Rais Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, kwanza tuseme tunashukuru kwa sababu kuna mambo mengi, changamoto amepitia. Mnajua wakati wa COVID umefika wakati wake, na mambo mengi yanayotajwa ambayo yamechangia kwa sababu ya kuharibika kwa uchumi.
Changamoto mingi katika hali ya kutekeleza katiba. Kuna mahali imefika wamekuwa wakipelekana na judiciary, lakini amefanya kazi na tumeona mambo ambayo amefanya kama mambo ya maendeleo ya barabara.
All right, so some very raw and real sentiments from a few Kenyans across the country speaking about what they feel about Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure as the president. Bwana Kisia, what are your thoughts on how Kenyans feel, and also how would you rate President Uhuru Kenyatta in the last 10 years between 1 and 10?
you know, let me say this. I have 2 ratings. One rating, I'll mark his exam out of 5 on the soft issues.
Okay.
Soft issues. You know, the things that touch on the human person. Okay? How they make the human person feel. The feel-good effect. Okay? I'll give him 2 out of 5.
Why?
Okay? Because, you see, he focused, he put all his energies on the hardware. The things that my sister is talking about, things that you can see.
Yeah.
That's hard, you can see them. But, you know, you're not dealing with machines.
Yeah.
You are dealing with human people. So if the hardware is affecting the software negatively, there is bound to be that reaction. But it is normal. Any person who has been in a position of leadership, most of the times, as you exit, your ratings are normally low. It is nothing new. We have seen it before. When Mzee Moi was leaving office, how we treated him, the things we said about that old man. But now, in hindsight, we are saying that, oh, I've seen even President Kenyatta talk about education, talk about health. That time, most of you are not born. When Mzee was building universities all over. Now they're not even enough. So the Mzee had foresight, okay? But when he was leaving, his rating was low. Actually, the only person who left with his head high out of the 4 that we've had is my favorite president, Emilio Mwai Kibaki.
Right.
Okay? Uhuru is leaving with his head down, okay? Because he focused on things that you can see, but not things that affect you directly. Now, in terms of the softs, the cost of living, unga, my friend, you touch on unga, you are dead. It doesn't matter whether you build roads or not.
Yes.
You are dead as a dodo. You, I mean, cohesion. Do we feel as one? Do we feel as Kenyans? Again, 0. Yeah, the issues, you know, of tribalism, appointments to state jobs.
Yes.
When other Kenyans are seeing that they are going into one direction, of course they're bound to ask themselves, are we also Kenyans? Okay? But on the other side, which is paper B, that was paper A. Paper B, again out of 5, I would give him 3.5.
Okay.
Okay? Because you can see the projects that Uhuru has rolled out in the last 6 or so years.
Yeah.
These are projects that will benefit us, not only now, but in the years to come.
Yes.
What he failed again is communicating to people. You see, like the president of, the late president of Singapore, he warned his people, Lee Kuan Yew. He warned them in advance. He said, you know, we are going to make hard decisions.
Okay.
We are going to feel pain, but that pain is not long. That pain will turn into milk and honey in the near future. So there are projects that we can talk about, and there are many in the power sector, water sector, health, road infrastructure, and what have you.
You've named quite a few, but in your mind, when you hear Uhuru Kenyatta, the outgoing president, just like you would hear Emilio, your favorite, and it pops up in your mind, the legacy was free primary education and, of course, a better economy. What is a lasting memory of Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy for you?
One thing that stands out, and my sister has talked about, is the road infrastructure.
All right.
For you know, even a blind person can see. And if he cannot see, or if she cannot see, she can feel that we have good roads in the Republic of Kenya. Surely, when I think he took over, we had probably about 4,500 roads on tarmac. Now have about 11,500. So even if a blind man cannot see,
you could feel.
You can feel.
What about for you? What's your lasting memory, or what will be your lasting memory of the regime or the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta? Say it.
Is it a hard one?
The human index development, it was extremely low. The indices very, very low. The Oxfam report showed that poverty has doubled in the last 5 years. So it's that bad. That's a very short time to double poverty. Yeah, so not a very good memory.
Okay.
All right, so shortly we will move forward to what next for our next president, but let's just bring up on our screen some more pictures from State House. We saw the two First Ladies being taking a walk together through State House, and the First Lady, you know,
there they go.
There they are, yeah, walking up the stairs and showing around the incoming First Lady, various rooms and all that. Look, we're seeing them smile, we're seeing them happy. I mean, is that new to us? Or again, going back to the question that Mark raised, you know, is this just for show? What are your thoughts, Irene?
Whatever you see on screen right now, yeah.
I mean, you know, we saw them. Go ahead.
If you ask me,
yeah,
the First Lady, the outgoing First Lady, is a gracious woman. I can tell you for free. You can feel her. She does not pretend. Yeah, what you are seeing is what she is. Yeah. Okay, so I don't see any pretense in what Margaret, the First Lady, is showcasing right now. Yeah. That is her. Yeah. So for the two gentlemen, maybe in future one day they'll tell us what went wrong,
what was said,
or what, you know, what went right. The two of them know, because it's only the two of them who can explain to Kenyans that you know, something happened in between.
Yeah.
But for the two ladies, I can see there's chemistry. I can see them working together even in the years to come. Right. And in fact, for me, if you ask me, I think the outgoing First Lady still has a role to play in this country. And in future, if we ever consider, you know, women ascending into power, these are some of the women that we can consider.
And everyone remembers her for speaking really well. And I bring this up because, Smriti, you had a one-on-one with her, an engagement some time back. She speaks really well, especially when she actually speaks, but she's quite shy and withdrawn.
Yes, that was an interview about Hands Off Our Elephants, a campaign that she supported, which was linked to supporting our wildlife. And of course, we also remember the First Lady from her Beyond Zero campaign, which some may argue was perhaps not as successful as it should have been. But the point is that State House is not just for the president and his work, but actually the First Lady has a big role to play, being the wife of the sitting president. Irene, what do you reckon we should expect from the incoming First Lady, Rachel Ruto?
I don't really expect much. Maybe give her a benefit of doubt for, you know, give her some time so that we see. Because even the outgoing First Lady was, you know, quiet, but she did run a number of initiatives, one of them being the Beyond Zero campaign, which was marred by a lot of scandals, but also helps in reducing a lot of maternal deaths. And I think her Beyond Zero campaign showed some of the transformation that our healthcare needs.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the Big Four agenda was talking about citizens accessing private healthcare. It wasn't talking about improving public healthcare for access for everyone. So I think the lessons that the regime would have picked from Beyond Zero campaign was the importance of having healthcare work right from the primary level, so that we don't burden the referral system, as we saw as well. The healthcare system was not in a very good place in the past regime.
And as you speak, you're talking about things that should be considered and actually worked on for the next government. But as we transition, there was that handshake 2018 that many people are now looking back, and in fact some are reading a lot into what happened today, much as it is procedural for an outgoing president to invite the incoming president. And now there's that theory, I'll start with you, Kisia, that perhaps Baba was hoodwinked, or in the name of cohesion and bringing people together, this handshake was a big con, some are calling it. What's your reading of this?
Again, I don't want to be the one to answer that question on behalf of the outgoing president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. They, you know, what they tell us in public, we can only believe, because these are statesmen. That the handshake was for the good of this country.
Yes.
I mean, from where I sit, I think things cool down, because
at that point,
Raila is a type of guy who can, you know, take you in a street battle for months. Yeah, I mean, people believe in him.
Yes.
So if the handshake lowered the temperatures and allowed the outgoing president to perform, so be it. But some argue that, you know, in doing so, I think President Kenyatta, you know, dropped his number 2. If that really happened, then it's unfortunate, because they were a team, they were elected as a pair, and we, as a country, as a nation, we must move away from political fraud.
Yeah.
Okay? Because when you market yourself as an entity, yeah, if you have any modicum of integrity left in you, if you are parting ways, come out publicly and say we parted ways because of ABCD. But don't take us into circles. Yeah. I think we've been taken into circles for too long. We don't know what happened.
Right.
But really, Mark, that question is better. Field that question to His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Well,
I'm sure it'll now be more valuable.
Well, I'm not too sure about that, but let me put it to you as a social scientist in terms of the you know, political moves and the changes that we have witnessed. And the handshake was brought in the name of bringing Kenya together, and it did cool temperatures at that point politically. But some are now reading into it and saying perhaps that was a way of managing Raila Amolo Odinga, and now it benefits the incoming Ruto. For you, was it just a political vehicle, or was there actual substance as a social scientist looking at this?
Well, there are very many possibilities. It did cool temperatures, yes, but it also did sweep a lot of things under the rug. The brutality and the executions that we saw before the handshake happened, and now they have shaken hands, and we Kenyans were expected to move on and forget about all the atrocities that happened. And then we also saw in the second term, the deputy president acting as if he's not part of government and chastising government and criticizing government, and the president throwing, you know, jabs at the deputy president. It wasn't a very good picture.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent it rubbed some wounds open, and also to some extent it extended division. On whether hoodwinking happened or stuff like that, that's also a possibility, but as Kisia said, you can as well ask the two to know if it really happened. But we cannot also underestimate the deputy president. I mean, he has been in government for a long time, so he's had access to how things work behind the scenes and to resources and to understand how machinery works. We cannot also act like he didn't do the work. I mean, he built a party from scratch and put officers from sub-county to the ward level. So obviously he was, from that investment that he put to build the party and put people into it, and have, you know, a secretariat and experts around him to advise on various issues. You can't underestimate that. So we will give it to him that he was smart.
Totally said he was smart.
He was smart and very well prepared. And in my view, he went at this as if this was the only chance. Like, I'm not doing this again. This is the only time.
now or never.
I have to do this.
Yeah.
And I think it paid off.
All right, well, we'll talk more about what's expected of William Ruto as the incoming president. Tomorrow is the big day. It's Inauguration Day. Raila Odinga is not going to be present. He released a statement saying that he's out of the country and he won't attend the inauguration because he has some serious concerns. Now, Bwana, it surely was expected that he would not show up, right?
Most of these people are my personal friends. So sometimes when I appear on media and make any negative,
so can you tell us why he
when I make a constructive argument, sometimes people don't take it kindly. But so be it.
Yes.
I think in my personal view, Raila is a statesman.
Yes.
History cannot wish him away. Whether we love him or whether we hate him, he has played a role in our history. We are enjoying the fruits we're enjoying right now because of his effort and others who were with him. Okay, so he has a place in history. If I was the one who had been advising him, some of the mistakes he's making at the tail end are not necessary.
Yes.
Okay? When you're a statesman, there are some things you take to heart, even when they're hurting you. You say, okay, fine. Really, it doesn't have to be me. I've been wrong, but let's move forward. So it was not even necessary. You just said, okay, fine. I have got the invitation, maybe late in the day. I wish they had notified me earlier. I'm out of the country, enjoying with my family, and I wish the incoming administration well. Okay? End it there. If there are any further actions that you'd want to pursue, you can pursue them without, getting some of this stuff in the public gallery. Yes. Yes. It lowers your stature. That is my personal view. So, and again, the new coming administration and the outgoing administration, they should have made an effort to conduct him a bit earlier. That is indeed if he got the letter today.
And a call.
And a call.
Right.
But, I mean, if I was the one advising him, I would have advised him to come back, if he's not too far from Kenya, to attend this momentous occasion. Because it's not about anybody. It's not even about the incoming president. It's about Kenya. It's about the future. It's about our children.
Would that send
we must
the right
set aside
signal,
our differences.
Would that send the right signal to his supporters?
Yes.
I realize you say it's about Kenya.
Yes, you see, it comes to a time when a nation is bigger than an individual. If you can say, I'm above what is happening here, okay, and I know probably there was some foul game played against me, but I'm above that. I'm coming to attend this function, and I'll attend it. But it doesn't mean that I agree with what has been done, the injustice that has been done to me. If I was the one advising him, I would not have advised him to keep away. So, I mean, but there we are. He has already put it in writing. Right. I don't think he can attend. So the event will go on tomorrow, minus the statements that we know of the stature of Raila Amolo Odinga.
Irene, are we making too much an ado about Raila not being there, not attending as a statesman that he is?
Yeah, I think the headline was...
Okay.
The headline was insinuating that I have refused to come for the inauguration, but
he has cited some concerns as well, or other serious concerns that he is...
Yeah, he has, which I agree with Kisia that was unnecessary.
Okay.
Because the message it sends out there from an aesthetic point of view is not so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he would have stopped at, he was not in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly does need a break after all that has happened with the campaigns and the elections and even the Supreme Court. Anyone would understand that he is taking a break. But now he has had or made some insinuations there that he will be coming back with a strategy, and this is presumably the opposition, and that's something that the next president is going to expect, a strong opposition, which we haven't had in the last few years. But there is some things that Kenyans are talking about in terms of expectations for the new government.
Let's listen in.
Shida yetu ilikuwa wapi?
ningependa tu kusema kwamba tuangalie uchumi irudi vile ilikuwa kwanza mwanzo, na kitu wa kwanza ninaamini ya kwamba Ruto mwenyewe anajua mama vile anaishi, manake ukishika mama umeshika familia.
Ruto, kitu tunataka tu akuja aone karama ya maisha. Wananchi wanateseka sana. Hata kupeleka mtoto wa shule, ukipeleka saa hii as we talk, even school fees.
Yatu, nataka siku nyingine nitakuwa mdosi kwa sababu akitusaidia sisi vijana kupea sisi pesa ya kufanya biashara, sisi tutaenda juu.
Tuna matarajio kama walimu pia ya kwamba vile yameongea mambo ya bottom up, kuna mambo mengi ya policies ambayo tunatarajia tutahusishwa hata tukiwa huku chini.
Asitupilie mbali Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, wao karibu, kwa sababu wanaweza hii kazi wakiwa pamoja, na mara tahitaji yeye washirikiane kama mandugu, ili nchi yetu ya Kenya iweze kuendelea mbele.
To know that we're expecting ASLA's funds so that we can expand our businesses, and I believe it will have very favorable interest. We'll be able to pay it back, and it's the prayer of every person, every business person in Meru, that that ASLA fund will reach us and it will help our business.
First of all, kile kitu tungetaka kwanza anzie nao ni kuangalia uchumi wa watu. Kwa hivyo kwangu ningeulizwa kwanza, ningetaka aguze mambo ya petroli, sababu petroli ndio imebeba uchumi.
No surprises there as to the cost of living topping the list of expectations of what Kenyans want the next government to change. Would we Kenyans be idealistic or unrealistic to expect our fortunes to change overnight, or are we in for a shock as well in terms of the new president proving a point?
Well, is that...
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, you see, I mean, I think it is good to be realistic.
Yes.
There are things any new administration can achieve within the stated, people always talk of 100 days. Mm-hmm. But as a management student, I can tell you sometimes there are things that are impossible to achieve in a macroeconomic environment in 100 days. There are smaller things which are micro in nature that can be rolled out in 100 days.
Yeah.
So, but I leave it to the new administration. So, as Kenyans, I think what I can only say is hope. Let us have hope that the new administration will be focused on dealing with the challenges that are facing Kenyans. Top on the list is the economy and the cost of living. If that can be dealt with, I think the Kenya Kwanza administration would have dealt with 50% of the problem. The other problem that I can see is the issue of ethnicity. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is that the country is divided among ethnic lines. That's a fact. We may not want to talk about it, but that is reality. So the incoming president is experienced in politics. Yes. I think he has not done any other business from the time he left university. He has been doing business, he has been doing politics. So I'm sure he's up to the mark, and he'll deal with this matter in a fair and decisive manner, so that we can bring the tension down to our levels that are manageable.
Yes.
Let's have a nation that is cohesive. Let us not have a group that refers to itself as Azimio and another group that refers to itself as Kenya Kwanza. Let us have one group called Kenya that is working together to achieve our aspirations and the goals that we've set. Right. Vision 2030, that was crafted not by Emilio Mwai Kibaki. It was crafted by Kenyans. It has about 8 more years to expire. What is in that vision that we crafted as Kenyans that we need to deal with?
Yes.
And I can assure you, Mark, if we dealt with those issues, we'll soon get to the right trajectory. And I'm hoping that that is what the new administration will start dealing with in the first 100 days.
Yeah.
And then finally, there is a viewer here,
yes,
who has talked about the Hustler Fund. And there are many other funds that have been promised within the first 100 days. Whether it will be achieved in the 100 days or not, I think what is important is to achieve those in the shortest time possible.
Yes.
Why? And is it possible? It is very possible. The outgoing administration, and some of us were part of it, I was not part of it, I've not been part of that MCA for 10 years, we admitted, through our own admission, that we lose 2 billion shillings every day.
Yeah.
That's close to 700 billion. If that leakage can be sealed, if you cannot just seal that leakage, we have more money. Forget about 50 billion. Make it 200 billion.
Right.
Stop the stealing.
Okay, Irene, we've got to close shortly, but on the issue of being a divided nation, we saw that with the results of the election. We can see that the country is split down the middle. The outgoing, Raila Odinga had his supporters and William Ruto has his. And we were reminded by the president today in his speech that the incoming president is going to be a leader for all Kenyans, no matter how you voted. How, in your view, do we expect William Ruto to address the issue of ethnicity and to unite the country? Could it be through his appointments, for example? What does he need to do, in your view?
Well, the functions that are still under the national government, if he is to equitably distribute and fulfill some of the promises as he had made them for the different regional blocks, I think that would show that he's not president for the blocks that he thinks voted for him. So that's one way of doing it, and also not frustrating county government attempts or efforts to do their work within their jurisdictions. And for the devolved functions, people just need to hold their MCAs and their governors ransom to do their job, because I don't think he will prevent Treasury from trickling down the funds that need to go to the county government. So the CIDP processes are going on, so people need to participate in that, find out what committees their MCAs sit in and what exactly do they do in those committees, what do people expect to be prioritized in the county county development inter-county, the CIDPs.
Right.
I am losing the chronology. So for national functions, just ensure that they are equitably distributed throughout the country, with priority for regions that have always been left behind, and for county governments to just do their job.
All right, and on that point, just very briefly, Kesia, when can we expect the cabinet positions to be announced? Any idea?
Well, you see, that is the prerogative of the head of state.
Okay.
Whether he decides to do it on Wednesday, it is up to him.
Right.
The first executive order.
He can, that can be the first executive order.
Yes.
And because I think he's very keen to deliver, I'm sure that is something that is top on his priority list.
Okay. Let me put this to both of you really quickly. Your word to the outgoing president and your word to the incoming president. I'll start with Philip and then
to the outgoing president, you've made your contribution to this country. We shall not forget what you've contributed, because people have a habit of disassociating with people who are living power.
You can look into that camera so it's more personal.
You know, people have that habit, especially Kenyans and Africa. You know, we're bad habits of disassociating. When you're getting on power, people run away from you.
They stop
So, you know, just there's a lot you can do. Go home in peace, live happily, go and take care of your wife and grandchildren. That is a big job that any human being can do, that gives you 101 satisfaction. The incoming president, please, this country is divided into two. If your advisor is not telling you, there's nobody here telling you that the country is divided into two.
Yes.
And you have a responsibility as now the father of the nation, the head of state, to unite this country, beautiful country called Kenya. And we must thank God, because see, even although the environment was very uncertain, Kenyans have behaved very, very well. And when people are behaving well, they expect a reward. Because if you sanction them, of course, you know, the human beings, they can react negatively. So, and I'm sure he's a God-fearing person. He will steer this country into greater heights. Let us remain united as Kenyans. We are not Ugandans, we are not Ethiopians, we are Kenyans, we are one. God bless Kenya.
Irene, the final word. Your word to the outgoing and incoming.
He should come back to Twitter.
That's true. That's true, Uhuru, eh?
Yeah, and for the incoming president, aside from the cost of living for basic utilities and essentials for Kenyans, the other aspects of social and economic rights, our education and healthcare system needs investment. So he should prioritize social and economic rights for Kenyans, particularly education, healthcare, and social protection.
And I'm sure if they need more consultancy, they can seek your expertise.
Anytime.
All right, thank you so much, Irene Asua and Philip Kisia, for your time.
Much appreciated. All right, well, that is where we leave it on NTV tonight. And make sure you tune in from as early as 6 a.m. tomorrow, because we will be live with more insights and analysis ahead of, during and after that inauguration ceremony. But for now, we're approaching 10 o'clock. David Agondoa has been our sign language interpreter. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Have yourselves a good night.
And Mark Ndome has been our director, because I know he's upset we've overrun a bit. But hey, we couldn't keep our guests here with the burning points and have them go home with them. But thank you to everyone who made this possible. Of course, keep it NTV for all your live updates tomorrow. It's been a lot of fuss about the live updates, but yes, you'll get it on NTV. Have a good night.